I have asked the Lord for one thing. One thing only do I want: to live in the Lord's house all my life, to marvel there at His goodness. I remain confident in this: I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living.
Welcome to Heart for the House 2021. Every year we set aside time to do what the psalmist just described. That's marvel at the goodness of God in His house. To look back and remind ourselves that what God has been building is beautiful, and to look ahead with faith to say, we're going to see even more.
So on Sunday, December 5th, we're going to come together as a church family to give sacrificially, because we're confident that where God is taking us is to a place and to a destiny where miracles are going to happen and life change takes place.
Our theme this year is we will see. That we are going to see God move, and we believe it with all of our hearts. Now, when King David spoke those words, it was actually in the middle of a battle. And so all his eyes could see was this army that was set against him, but he still had eyes of faith. He could see a future that was full of the goodness of God. And I believe that's what you're going to experience today. To have faith rise up within you, that God's goodness is still ahead. To believe for the miracles that God is going to do in your life for you. And also to see the miracles that God is going to do in somebody else through you. So let's watch this together.
When I grew up as a child, I actually did go to church. So I have this very blurred recollection of going to church, and I think my parents sent me to church because they thought it was a place to be a good person and meet good people, and that it'd be a better place than any to use up my leisure time. When I was in high school, I changed the grades on my report card for 4 years. So 4 years of feeling like I couldn't be myself and share what was going on, and also being afraid to ask for help when I knew that was what I needed. It's been very rocky, my relationship with my family. And I think that also seeps into other areas of my life, where I almost feel the need to paint a certain picture of myself. So when I started coming to Resonate, it was October or November of 2019. And I went with my girlfriend at the time. And we walked up to the high school and we were like, what is going on here? This looks like a special event. And we see people dressed up in like a Beauty and the Beast like costume with like a big photo booth. And I thought we walked into like some high school event. I went into it with no expectations because I had previously been to church with Sarah a few times. And it was always about going to church and respecting the fact that she and her family are Christian. And I didn't identify as Christian, but I also didn't deny faith. I was kind of in that stage where I wasn't sure what was going on. I wasn't sure what was real and what wasn't, and what I ought to believe in. Summer of this year, summer of 2021, when I really was not sure what to expect moving forward, but there were some certainties that I felt were in my life. But those certainties, they came crashing down. You think that sometimes things can't get any worse. You think that things are already really bad, and you're hanging on to the few good things still around in your life, and you hang on to those things. And that's human nature. That's what we all try to do. When there's bad things and good things, we try to hang on to the good things and get through those bad times and stay away from those bad things. But when something really good, turns out like it wasn't really a good thing after all this time. When you have this expectation that this is going to be something that you can hang on to and go to, and it ends up not being there for you, and it's not what you expected. I was so broken from going my way and working harder and trying to do better, and it still got me to that point when I was going my way. You know, I walked into the auditorium and I saw the lights and I saw the band. I saw Pastor Shane, and I started weeping the moment I walked in, and I didn't stop until I walked out. When we finally had that prayer, Pastor Shane led that prayer at the end where he says, you know, Jesus, I give you my life. I believe you died and you rose again. I'm done going my way. I'm going to go your way. And I had prayed that prayer, but this was the time that I prayed and I meant it. And I knew it. And I knew who I was praying to. I couldn't contain myself at all. It was a magical moment because it's something I had never experienced before.
What God did for Chris, that moment where he said, Jesus, I'm putting you first in my life, that's the reason for everything that we do. We just do all that we do as a church to see lives changed by God's grace. As a church, we've been strategic with our global partnerships. We want to be with them for the long term. And so from the beginning, we've partnered with IJM, International Justice Mission, in their fight against modern-day sex slavery. And through your support, we were able to give $15,000 to IJM last year.
Studies are showing an increase of online sexual exploitation of children because of the pandemic, and increased demand from predators and increased financial pressures on those who would exploit children. But last year in the Philippines, our giving played a part in IJM rescuing 76 sexually exploited victims. And as a church, we're committed to God's heart for justice.
We also partner with Compassion International and their incredible work with kids and families around the globe. And so here's an update from Grant Sipe from Compassion.
Hi, my name's Grant Sipe with Compassion Canada. I just want to thank you for your generosity in supporting our COVID Relief Fund. Since the pandemic hit in 2020, Compassion's more than 8,000 churches around the world have reached out to their communities to provide stability and aid through their efforts. And those efforts are only made possible by your generosity. This is a great example of the global church rising up and together fighting for people that are less fortunate than ourselves. So to you, Resonant Church, we just want to thank you for your generosity. Thank you for enabling, empowering, equipping, all those good E words, the local church across the world to battle through this. Much like what you're doing in your own community here, making people feel known, helping them to feel loved and connected, releasing children, their families, whole communities from poverty in Jesus' name. Thank you.
We also continue to partner with Himalayan Life, and we're planning to take a team to be with them once international travel to Nepal becomes more accessible. But in the meantime, our support continues. And here are founders Daniel and Karina Berge with an update on how your giving has impacted their mission.
Hello, Resonate Church. We wanted to send you this short video message to express our gratitude. Frankly speaking, the past 18 months have been no walk in the park. You may have heard about the flash flood which we experienced in the Himalayas, that has wiped out our school in Yangri. On top of that, there was COVID, of course, with its ever-changing rules and restrictions, all the hardship, which has forced us to pivot in many of our programs.
And one of the programs that has had to pivot the most would be the program in Chitwan in the southern region of Nepal. And here, thanks to your support, we've been able to give out relief packages to over 1,000 families, which is probably over 40,000 pounds of rice and oil, tea, spices, etc. As well, we've been able to feed street kids in the evenings around 20 to 30 each night, and that's been about probably over 6,000 meals. So we wanted to thank you for your support. Another thing that we've noticed is that the pandemic has created an increase in financial instability in families. And unfortunately, young girls in families bear the brunt of the burden and are most vulnerable.
Did you know that 2 out of 5 girls in Nepal are married by the age of 14? And did you know that 30% of the girls are engaged in child labor? And 10 to 15,000 girls every year are trafficked from Nepal into other countries. That's why Himalayan Life started a home for girls. Let me tell you Shivanya's story. She is 4-year-old, has only a mother, and they came together from Mustang to Pokhara in search of work. At the construction site, her mother found work, but she couldn't bring the little girl, so she had to leave her at home all by herself. Our team found her and took her in. Shivanya now has a warm place to sleep, healthy meals to eat, and good clothes to wear, and goes to school happily. Thanks to your support, Shivanya is well on her journey of not life to life. Thank you.
Thank you. Over the past 25 years of doing ministry in Nepal, we have, symbolically speaking, seen many mountaintops and deep valleys marked by grief and sorrow. The past 18 months have certainly been a valley experience. Not the deepest valley we've ever been into, but a valley nevertheless. However, you know as much as I do that it is precisely in the valley where we experience the close proximity of God's presence, His goodness, and the leading of His Spirit the most acutely. This has certainly been the case for us over these past 18 months. We're incredibly grateful for every opportunity that has presented itself to reach out with God's love, His life, and His light. So, thank you once again for your support, which has really made it possible for us to continue to do our work of protecting, nurturing, and educating children in the Himalayas. Thank you. Dhanyabad and Jai Masi. Blessings to you.
Through this year's Heart for the House, we're going to continue our support of all of our global partners, including a gift of $20,000 to Himalayan Life to help rebuild their school destroyed by the June flood. And I've said it before, if Avia or Alencia or Wyland, they were on the other side of the world and they needed food or they needed protection, I'd do just whatever it took to find someone who could be there close by, to be my hands and provide for them. And church, that's our calling here on earth. We are the representatives of our Heavenly Father. We are His hands to rescue His kids in the world. We are a church that sees globally.
The impact that we get to have as a church in our nation continues to grow. Since we've started Resonate Church, we've been able to help plant 13 new life-giving churches in Canada by giving away 2% of every dollar given to Resonate to start new churches through ARC, which is the Association of Related Churches. We continue to coach new church planters, and this year we've taken a step forward in our commitment by saying yes to the invitation to serve on the lead team for ARC Canada. And it's such an honor for us to share an even greater role in this mission to see a thriving church in every single community in Canada.
And the second part of our national vision is our partnership with the Next Level Relational Network. In 2021 Church, we got to support and help to lead the pastors of 16 other churches across Canada and the United States. And that's all because of the way that you give and you serve and you love right here. It's impacting other churches in the nation. I just want you to be able to see that. So here is one of those stories.
Well, hey, Pastor Shane, Pastor Rachel, and the whole Resonate Church family. We love you so much, and we're so grateful for you. We are Mark and Roberta. We're the lead pastors of Rose Church, a brand new church plant here in Winnipeg, Manitoba.
And we just want to take this opportunity to thank your pastors for the wisdom and the time and the commitment they have given to Mark and I. See, as church planters, it's so important that we have mentors and people who've gone before us to actually take time to invest and to sow. And I just know there's been so many nights and so many days that we did not know if we could move forward. And it's the encouraging words from your pastors that have actually helped us to keep moving forward. And so we're just so thankful for them, and we're thankful for your house that invests in church planting. We wouldn't be where we are without you.
Yeah, through ARC Canada and your investment into ARC Canada, we were able to make our dream to plant a church a reality. So thank you so much for that. And also your investment in the Next Level Relational Network has been just foundational for our development as leaders and our growth as leaders. We're able to say we're better pastors to our congregation because of the investment that you guys make into the Next Level Relational Network. And so thank you for your heart for church planting, for pastors all across Canada. We're just grateful for you, and we love you so much.
We love you so much. Have a great day.
Serving our city is so central to who we are as a church. Since the beginning of the pandemic, we have been impacting more individuals and families than ever before in our city. Recently, I had the opportunity to meet a beautiful mom and her 2 kids. They showed up to church for the first time, and we support them through our local food backpack program. I got to hear how your impact is reaching her and her kids on a weekly basis. She also shared stories of her fleeing domestic violence and the abuse and the scars that she has taken on over the years. And we had a chance to wrap our arms around her and pray with her and her kids, and to let her know that she is not just a project, but they are part of our Resonate family. Well, we've expanded our reach in 2021 more than ever before. We extended Serve Day into Serve Month, where each of our individual dream teams went out together and impacted the community in their areas. And over the past year, we've added to our list of local partnerships. We partner with the Salvation Army and City Reach, providing monthly meals for families experiencing food scarcity. We support New View Society, serving community meals to residents receiving mental health support and recovery. We run our backpack food program, providing a weekend supply of food to low-income families in 3 local schools. And we recently added Centennial Secondary School to the list of schools we support. This year, because of your generosity, we were able to purchase a brand new bike for every child that we support. We run a Christmas in a Box program where our Resonate kids and their families pack boxes with Christmas gifts for low-income families. And we started the Love My City campaign, where each month on the 3rd Saturday, we send out serve teams throughout the city. And finally, in 2021, we started a beautiful partnership with Wings Ministry. Wings provides transitional housing for women and children who are fleeing domestic violence. And that connection, that partnership with Wings came out of a relationship that we have with a lady in our Resonate Church family. In fact, she stayed in these homes as she was fleeing an abusive relationship herself. It's incredible to hear her amazing story of how God not only rescued her, but now how she leads the way in rescuing others. Here's Zelda's story.
My name is Zelda. I grew up one of 7 kids in a poor family, and we just had our mom, and she raised all of us pretty much by herself. We were the only Indigenous family on our street, and people making Indian noises, you know, when we walk by, and calling us that you know, poor little Indian family, and, you know, just people looking at us differently. My dad wasn't around much, and when he was abusive, and that kind of set the tone for me. Well, he did abuse me. Yes, he did. He did. He sexually abused me, yes. It's hard for me to say those words sometimes, depending on the setting, but if I don't say them, people don't know that these things happened. And I want them to look at me as somebody who made it. I made it. I'm here. I'm here right now. And I did want to take my own life at one point, and I didn't succeed. And I'm so happy that I didn't succeed, but I tried. And even through my marital abuse, I felt guilty more about that than anything, is that I wasn't a good enough wife, or I didn't do things properly. I was looking for somebody to take care of me. And this person paid a lot of attention to me and was really, really good to me. But then a lot of arguing ensued. You're fat. You're stupid. You're just the sandwich maker and the mop squeezer. That's your job. That's what you need to be doing. Don't worry about what I'm doing, but this is your job. You stay home and this is what you do. I just, as soon as he left, I didn't even have a vehicle. I took his vehicle and I just went. I left. And the rest is history, because I went into transition and got help. So after this, I was like, I need a church. And that's when a girlfriend of mine took me to the theater. And that's my first time that I went to a church and thought I would try this. Actually, what I was thinking was, this is going to be my home. When I get here, this is going to be my home. I'm going to come here and I'm going to meet some new people and I'm going to serve God. It was all about giving back, because I felt like I had such the experience of getting out of my situation, finding an apartment, getting a job, having a car, and being able to move around. I just wanted to give back because I knew God did that. Well, Serve Day this year was near and dear to my heart, and I was unaware that you didn't know my story going around that. And I was with another crew and we were just doing some gardening, we're just having a great time, and I was reminiscing about the good times I had staying in that other house. And then I had to come over to the house where everybody was. I just looked up to you and I said, you know, I stayed here 6 years ago. And you're like, what? And then you asked me how I would feel about sharing my experience, and it might give some perspective to what they're doing in the backyard. So I just went back there and just opened up my heart and just told them that, I was here. I packed a bag and showed up here, and here I am today. When we were making hampers at Christmas time, I got a phone call that there might be a lady in need, and so I reached out to her and she met me outside, a young mother of 2 children, and I picked her up. And of all Sundays, we were talking about giving in the community. As soon as she walked into the church, she just burst into tears. And she looked over at me and said, this is where I need to be. I need to be here today. And then once the sermon started, kind of kicking each other a little bit, like, wow. And she's whispering in my ear a few times saying, I can't believe I'm here. She said, I just can't believe it. I want to come back. I want to come back. And I said, well, you can come back. And it meant the world to her. And she met Pastor Shane, she met Pastor Troy, she met Pastor Rachel, Pastor Troy's wife, and she prayed with her. And they went walking around and they spent all this time with her. And I think for her, that's what she needed. She came up to me and she said, who are these people? She said, I can't believe how nice these people are here. She said, everybody, they're just taking time for me. They're wanting to meet my children. And I said, that's what we do here. And she says, well, I want to come back. So she wants to come back.
Let's start. What does Jesus mean to you today?
Jesus is my Father. It's the only Father I have.
When I hear Zelda's story, I think only Jesus. Only He could take something that was so broken, a life that she didn't even want to live, and turn that story around with hope and with legacy. See, when we serve our city, when we serve Coquitlam and beyond, we're not just helping people, we're building a bridge so that people can find Jesus, so they can find hope and go from being served to serving others. And the impact goes on and on.
Well, my name is Marvin.
I'm Bernadette.
And we've both been attending Resonate for about 3 years now. You know, growing up, we didn't have much. You know, my parents were working 2 jobs. You know, I had to get a job delivering flyers when I was in grade 6. So for me to give 10% back, that was hard to accept. Sure, I tithe, you know, but because I was told to. I remember, most especially when my dad passed away, you know, I lost that voice. I remember one time when property tax came and we didn't have much. You know, we were having a hard time, you know, making ends meet. And I was faced with a dilemma, you know. You only have this much and you have this much to pay. Maybe you can forgo your tithes this week, this month. At that moment, I said, you know, God, I know what you've been telling me. You know, this is yours. And I'll leave the rest to you. And you know what? He came through, you know, unexpectedly. He came through on time, you know, and I was that, after that, I was like, man, we really need to do it consistently and no second guessing. I really believe in what Resonate is doing when it comes to the needy, the broken people in our city. I know God is gonna do His thing, whether we are part of it or not. But what I'm really proud of is that we get to do it. We get to be a part of it.
Yeah, people come to us and ask how we're able to do what we do, and I just say we're blessed. God bless us tremendously.
Marvin and Adette's story represents the story of our church, how we receive God's heart for us, and that we say, God, I'm going to be faithful with what I have so that we can build your house and our church, and so that more people can be invited into God's life-changing story.
And because of your heart for the house giving last year, we were able to continue to build our Resonate headquarters, which is where we're filming right now, to be a space for our growing youth ministry. We've invested in equipment to record our online services. Many of you have shared the stories of people you were able to invite to online church, including the more than 1,000 homes that watched our online Easter service, and the many who will continue to watch each week online.
And that's what this Heart for the House Week is all about. It's about increasing our ability to reach those close to us but far from God. In 2021, God's given us a vision for the miracle that will be our first permanent Resonate facility. That's going to be a meeting space for our church and also ground zero for how we serve and support and love on our community. And it's because of your radical generosity that we're not just dreaming about it, we're planning and we are designing that dream. And we know that it's going to take a miracle and God is going to bring a miracle. Another way that we're investing through Heart for the House this year is to continue to make investments to all of our ministry environments at the church, making investments that will go with us wherever we go in the future as a church. And I just love this time of year. I love reminding ourselves that we get to be a part of God's church and that we get to build His house And we believe that we are going to see God move in our world and in our nation and greater than ever before in our city. And we're just going to stay confident that we will see the goodness of the Lord in His house.
Build your church, build your church, build from the ground up. It's your church, build your church.